This may be my next step on fully alienating my audience on YouTube, but that's a risk I'm willing to take, because I'm vlogging about what I know. In light of the ongoing conflict in Libya, some of you may have been reading up on the cult of personality of dictatorship that was built around the person of Gaddafi over the years. I'd like to point out a small detail, that one of the elements of the cult of personality was the Green Book, a collection of the colonel's writings and sayings that was meant to be used as a kind of required reading for all Libyans and to shore up the very confused ideology of the dictatorship. English-speaking students of Arabic have their own green book, Al-Kitab al-Akhdar al-Thani, the Hans-Wehr Dictionary of Modern Written Arabic. Hans Wehr was a German who first published his dictionary in the 60s. His German dictionary was translated into English by J.M. Cohen, who was a Mormon missionary and has his own fascinating story. The Hans Wehr dictionary is so widely spread among English-speaking students of Arabic because it's only about 1,200 pages long. I know that's weird to say, we're dealing with a dictionary here. And for its size, it contains a hell of a lot of Arabic to English translations. When I was in Jordan, I literally had it with me almost every single day. The other thing the Hans Wehr Dictionary is known for is the specificity of some of its definitions, because the Wehr Dictionary is put together mostly by corpus analysis, a technique that involves heavy mining of actual printed texts for words that are most commonly used. There are some very unusual words that pop up that, you have to include in the dictionary because, hey, they were used in real life. So we have, for example, tabadawa, to pose as a Bedouin, waham, a craving for certain food during pregnancy, tarrar, which means tambourine player but also rogue or scoundrel, arasha, to erect a trellis, Azaj, an adjective meaning having beautifully arched eyebrows. Zabaniya, the angels who thrust the damned into hell. Quradati, showmen with performing monkeys. Amariya, camel-born sedan and the virgin riding it into battle. Nafatha, a woman who spits on the knots and exercising a form of Arabian witchcraft in which women tie knots in a cord and spit on them with an imprecation. Qannuma, sacred fish. Tanammara, to turn into a tiger. Lawaza, to stuff with almonds, which leads to the wonderful fact that you can say, don't stuff me with almonds in only 2 words. Nisnas, a fabulous creature of the woods having 1 leg and 1 arm. Istanwaqa, to mistake a he-camel for a she-camel. And on and on and on. I could keep going. There's entire Facebook groups dedicated to this. And I think it's remarkable that this green book, which we revere as much as Gaddafi meant the Libyan people to revere his, is entirely unknown except among a certain select demographic. But the richness that it provides, even if it not always accurate or trustworthy, is certainly something to capture the imagination. My one qualm, however, is that it leads to a certain subset of the Eskimo snow myth. I'm sure you've heard the old trope that the Eskimo language has X words for snow. First of all, there's no such thing as the Eskimo language. There's Aleut, there's Tlingit, there's Yupik, there's Inuit, and a host of other languages spoken among the indigenous peoples of Alaska and the Yukon. Second of all, it's simply not true. It's an exaggerated version of a claim first postulated in a linguistics journal in 1911, and since then it's been completely blown out of proportion. And of course, we have a variant that says Arabic has X words for camel. This is a subset of something called the Sapir-Whorf hypothesis, which says that every language leads to a set of immutable ways of imagining the world. The prime example given by Sapir and Whorf was the Hopi language. They suggested that the way verbs are handled in Hopi implied a certain way of thinking about time in the Hopi culture that English speakers simply aren't accustomed to. There's been a lot of debate about it, and I don't want to get into it too deeply, except to say that while language certainly affects the way we think to a certain point, for example, Russian has 1 more word for blue than English does, it doesn't completely alter who we are. The way we think is the way we think, and while certain languages may be better equipped to handle certain concepts or have a richer vocabulary to comprehend them, that doesn't mean that there are certain limitations on one set of people that another set of people doesn't experience.